All this work that we're doing, brothers, for this ministry, eventually is going to pay off. You better believe it, man. It's going to pay off like you'll never believe, okay? And by the way, we're the highest value male on this planet. The men of the Lord, the men of this truth, the hopeful elect of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the highest value male there is.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, in peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopefully the believers and listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. And I want to do a response, to a lesson done by the elder brother Ariala out in GMS Dallas. And he pretty much, was responding to some things said in the one of the latest Andrew Tate, interviews. And, dealing with this guy, he makes a lot of points, as far as, men, being men. He makes a lot of good points. He's worldly, and he speaks from the perspective of furtherance, in this world, which at the end of the day, all right, what we understand is that this world is going to end, but even with that being said, he makes points, dealing with just, manhood, which in this society in the West is a lost art, okay, of men, pushing for greatness. Like, this is a society where mediocrity is just, the norm. Like, there's a lot of men of this society have no drive, and one thing that separates mediocrity and greatness is that bridge of suffering, because the crossover to greatness, man, you're going to have to go through suffering. We're going to have to go through suffering, okay? And that's the theme of the kingdom, okay, is the suffering, all right, before. That's the theme of the preaching, okay, before we get fully in the kingdom, okay, before we're changed, before immortality, before rulership, there's suffering. There's straight gate. You see, and as men, we really have to prepare our minds, to suffer in the times to come. Okay? To lose in the time to come. To endure whatever the Lord is going to take us through in the times to come. Really, think upon those things to an extent, man. Okay? And understand that what we're a part of, counting the cost. You see? So I'm going to play a little bit of the clip, get some precepts and some accounts, and Lord will, you brothers and you few sisters are edified.
I think that's what the average man really needs to struggle. And I've been saying, this has been my message for a very long time in all realms. I've said for a very long time that life for the average man is going to get harder and harder. It's becoming more and more competitive. You need to find more and more ways to stand out and be unique. And the only way to really do those things, unfortunately, as a man, is to suffer. And that's one of the reasons I'm kind of glad that God put me in jail. Because if you look at anything that builds a man into a man, there's a degree of suffering. It's very hard to become a man and have a man who's respected and has stories and is capable when he only had a nice life and nice experiences. It's usually the things that made you the best version of you are usually the worst things that happen to you. So the demon...
And that's true, because suffering creates character, that you can't buy, you can't imitate it. It creates drive. Suffering creates a drive. Suffering creates a discipline. Suffering creates obedience. Okay? Suffering creates focus. Okay? Suffering creates patience, man. You see? So as we go through these things, as men, all right, well, we have to understand the Lord is dealing, man. Okay? Yahushua is dealing. When you go to, all right, the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 3, and it says, and not only so, but we glory, okay, in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience. So, it's to the point now, man, like when the Lord is dealing, because we know, okay, if we're sincerely serving Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to the best of our ability, when suffering comes, it's coming from him. Okay? And he's doing it to build us in a certain way, to have us in a certain mindset to endure. And each brother is going to go through different trials, because each brother's Jacob trouble is going to be different. So some brothers, their situation might be a little more intense. Some brothers, maybe not as much, but overall it's going to be a form of suffering that each brother is going to have to endure to get to their crown, to get to their throne, man. And the Lord is putting us through things now. He's putting us through sufferings now. Okay. So when it really jumps off, we already have been conditioned to react in a certain way. We already have been built. The Lord has already put things within us through affliction that we're going to be built to get through these times, man. So that's why when things come now, man, like, you gotta get to the point we glory in these things, man, because Yahweh Shai is with us, man. It's to the point now I'm excited to wake up every day, man. Because that's another chance to be great. The hell with the suffering, they gonna be there. One thing that makes life miserable is as a man, when you trying to always, escape to comfort, man. As a man, when you always trying to carve out some comfort in every situation. Nah, man, you gotta suffer. The comfort come when it come. The suffering got to be the norm, and let comfort come when it come. However it come. Being great men requires suffering, man. It just is what it is. Ain't no shortcuts to it, man. Ain't no shortcuts to the glory. Okay? And like one thing I've been listening to different videos and documentaries, watching different documentaries about different rulers. They all went through suffering. It was something that happened, a suffering that happened that changed their whole way of thinking before they became these great names that we, read about today. Okay, even with, with Esau, different Edomite conquerors, which, they were some demons, they were some grimy, shiesty niggas. Okay. But they suffered before they got to their certain glory, man. That was a suffering, that they had to go through to get to their certain glory. And then we're gonna go through the accounts of our forefathers, the way that they had become accustomed to suffering, to when situations came, man, they just move how they need to move. All right. This is on Romans 5:3 again. It says, and not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. Okay, so tribulation worketh patience. Okay, because it get to the point, you ain't no sense of rushing. It just is what it is. Just deal. Just be prepared to wake up and deal with whatever it is. We haste to get out this society. Okay, but we gotta haste with patience. Okay, and patience worketh experience, and that's another thing that tribulation and suffering produces. It produces experience. So when things happen, we already have the experience in particular things, man. We don't panic. We don't bug out. We don't, nah, man. This suffering is making us experience, man. Okay, and experience work of hope, because we know that every situation the Lord brought us through, every situation that we trust in the Lord, He made a way. Okay, and let's go from there. Let's get Isaiah 48. Isaiah 48:10, it says, behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. We're going to be chosen out of affliction. We're going to be delivered out of affliction. Verse 10 in the NLT, Isaiah 48:10 NLT, I have refined you, but not as silver is refined. Rather, I have refined you in the furnace of suffering. You see? And through suffering, we're being refined. Okay? Because when you go to, let's get this in Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Verse 3, it says, sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. Okay? The heart is made better through the sorrows. And that's our mind. The Lord is refining us and building us in a certain way that can only be done through suffering. You see? And we can't shy away from it. We gotta go through it. Wake up every day ready to go through it, man. It'll get to the point where you look forward to it, man. Okay? And because the Lord is building us in a certain way. Now the Lord, it ain't that we something great. It's just that the Lord is dealing. It's the Lord that's dealing, man. And the more faith we have in that, the more, we look forward to, going through whatever we need to go through, man. But it said through sorrow, all right, through sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. So some days, man, you just be going through it. You just get these vexation and these thoughts, and you're like, God damn, But that's the Lord causing that, because He's trying to get you. He's trying to get us to see something, man. He's trying to get us to think in a particular way. Okay? He's making us numb to emotions, man. He wants us to think in a particular way, man, for the times to come. He wants us to have a particular mindset. So going back to it, it says sorrow is better than laughter. This is an NLT, Ecclesiastes 7:3. Sorrow is better than laughter, for sadness has a refining influence on us. It's when you go through things that you learn your life's biggest lessons, man. Okay? Like even Andrew Tate made the point. He said it's the worst points in your life, all right, when you learn and when you become the greatest version of you during the worst parts of your life, man. Like we're not just bitter and mad, frowned up all the time, brother. Joke, sense of humor, here and there, But then there was a time, man, when the mind it goes through. The Lord to send us through these things, and that's the Lord doing this, man. Because we can't cut it off, man. The Lord be doing this, man. The Lord will send that sorrow, man. He'll have you look at, He can have you look at a documentary or a TV series, and it'll trigger something in you. Be like, damn, you'll read something, and it'll trigger something in you. It'll trigger sorrow. You'll go through something, and it'll trigger sorrow or vexation, man. And it's like, damn. But the Lord did that. He triggered that, man, because He wanted to get that bullshit out of us, man. We still got these, these westernized, effeminate, Carl Winslow ass ways, man. The Lord getting all that bullshit out of us, man, and it's through suffering. Let's go here. Let's get the book of Proverbs, chapter 3. All right, this is Proverbs. It's like Proverbs 3:11. It says, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of His correction. So, let's get to the point. We just got to go through it. A lot of men quit at the chastening. Like I say, this is a society that's pretty much has a heavy matriarch influence where men are not pushed, man. In my experience, man, from work, man, you just see a lot of men quit at the first sign of affliction, the first sign of something going wrong. They shut down. But nah, man, we gotta endure. We gotta deal with the chastening that the Lord taking us through, man. And the thing is to always pray for the Lord to show. We have to pray that the Lord show us what. That we see what the Lord is trying to show us when we go through the chastisement. And every chastisement I go through, once I realize what the Lord is showing me and I make that adjustment, I come out of it, man. And in a better form. Every chastisement I ever went through, man, once I see what the Lord is, once I pray and the Lord show me, He let me see what He's trying to show me, and I make that adjustment, man, I come out better every time. You see, it's a formula to this thing. Like the Lord is working, man. The Lord is hands-on in our situation, man. He causes these afflictions. He causes these demons to jump on co-workers, on your woman, on, he causes these things, man. Okay, he caused the car problem demons to jump on your car, man. What you gonna do? What we gonna do? That's how the Lord look at it. What you gonna do, my son? Okay, you around here hollering Yasha Allah, Prince of the Power, Malaki, all on the comment board and on the group, sup king, but then affliction come with how we gonna react. A king can't fold. A king, one thing about a king can't fold and shy away from the chastisement or adversity, man. A king got a deal. You see, a king can't go and tuck away. No, you got a deal. Whatever comes, you got a deal. It's 40,000 troops outside the walls. Guess what? As a king, you got to deal with that. You ain't got number 8,000 troops, 10 days worth of food. Guess what? You got to make something happen. You got a deal. You at least go out swinging. You can't, Nah, man. And this is what the Lord is building. He's building warriors, man. This westernized pans-ass spirit that we was brought up in, we gotta shake that shit, man. This is a very weak ass spirit in the West, man. Especially for men. It is an extremely weak, soft ass spirit in the West, man. The Lord is getting that shit out of us, man. And it's gonna be through suffering, man. So let's go here. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 1. It said, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the ride. Oft. It means often. He that loveth his son. And the Most High love his sons. Okay? Beginning with Yahushua, those first fruits. Okay? And he love his son, so he gonna deal and see if we are of that superior class of the 144, our suffering is gonna be on a whole nother level. That's why Yahushua's suffering was on the whole nother level. The scriptures say his visage was marred more than any man. Okay, why did he have to go through that? He had to go through that suffering to be made, to be built a certain way, man. Like that suffering that we read about in the Gospels that Yahushua went through, that's going to play a part in how he rules the kingdom, how he rules eternity. That's going to play a part. That's going to factor into how he built, man. If he governs eternity, man. You see? It says, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end, so he can have joy of his son in the end. You see, it's all about the product, what the suffering produces. It's not about the suffering so much as what the suffering produces, man. And these brothers chastise different, man. Because you can see a brother on the surface, on the exterior, a brother might, have it together, okay? But then, the Lord is on that brother's mind. Because a brother, might be chastised in a car accident, man. Or some type of accident, some type of physical, and he chastised that way. And some brothers, the Lord will chastise them in the mind. You'll look at him and be like, okay, brother got together, he's straight. Okay, but nah, the Lord be on that brother's mind. See, that's the thing about Yahweh Shem Al-Shai. He can reach out and touch you and break a leg, or, cause you lose a job, cause you go through a little streak of poverty. Okay, or he can get in your mind, and the Lord can whoop your ass. He can whoop our ass in the mind. Be like, damn, he can put something on our mind, that's refining, but it's refining us though. That's why you see some brothers that have certain, facial expressions certain times. The Lord chastening, man. Hey, brother, going through it, man. It's just in a different way. But guess what? And we all being refined, no matter what it is. He's refining something in us, man. Okay, he's removing unwanted qualities, unwanted, mindsets that we picked up in this society, man. Okay, let's get this in the book of Daniel. Okay, chapter 3. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 3, verse 15. Now this is the three Hebrew boys, all right, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, which they Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, was they Hebrew name. Was they Babylonian name, they captivity names. So pretty much, the king's men pretty much, reported to Nebuchadnezzar that they wasn't bowing down, and so they was brought to the king, and he pretty much, made an inquisition, okay, was questioning them about it, and this is how the dialogue went. So when you go to Daniel 3 and 14, it said, Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if you be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that power that shall deliver you out of my hands? All right, so Nebuchadnezzar talking crazy, but he presented like, look, the consequences of fiery furnace. Okay, so that's the point that he made. The consequence was going to be that fiery furnace. It said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. So yeah, look, man, we ain't gonna beat around the bush with you, man. We gonna shoot it straight. Okay? And they get into it. Said, if it be so, our power whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Okay? So they were like, look, we know our power is able to deliver us from that. But even if he don't, okay, it's going to be recorded that we never worshiped your gods. Okay? So they didn't care about the suffering that was on the table. Okay? They gladly, had accepted that. We'll take this suffering. Because guess what? Not taking this sea hip is like not bowing to the idols of Esau, Edom. Okay? And it's going to cause us to go into what? Affliction, because we're not going to be able to deal. We're not going to be able to buy and sell. We're not going to be able to, be included in this society. We're going to be outcast. Okay? But they chose affliction knowing that they could be delivered out of it. And even if the Lord didn't, they still was going to choose that affliction, man, and let it be known. And they will, because at the end of the day, the Lord still is the judge. Okay? Whether he delivers us out of this situation or he allows us, to go through the situation, guess what? The Lord is still the judge over that, man. Okay? And and that's righteousness, and he loves his son to be stand-up men, to stand in their fire. He loves to see his sons fight through situations, man, overcome. He don't want to hear that pouting shit, man. He don't hear all you goddamn excuses, man. Nah, man, you gotta stand in there. Okay? You see? So let's go here. Now this is dealing with King David. Now we know, if you're familiar with the story of Absalom, all right, which he conspired a coup against his father. He pretty much politicked the men of Israel, by cutting them off and dealing with their situations, and pretty much he was winning the favor of Israel. Okay, so as he won the favors of the men of Israel, he became emboldened to try to do a coup, to conspire a coup against his father, King David. All right, and when King David got whiff of it, all right, what did King David do? This 2 Samuel, all right, 15 and 13, it says, and there came a messenger to David saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom. And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee, for we shall not else escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly and bring evil upon us and smite the city with the edge of the sword. So he was like, look, let's leave, the castle. Let's leave the palace. All right, let's leave the estates, and where did they go? They went back to them trenches. But why was King David why was that even a consideration? Imagine if King David was raised in the palace his whole life. He wouldn't even have that mindset, that thought. But nah, King David came out the mud, out the trenches. You see? He dealt with Goliath at a young age. He was out there fighting lions and bears before he fought Goliath. Okay? He dealt with Goliath, and then Saul turned into a whole ass nigga, so he was on the run. And see, you read, the book, when you read the scriptures and you read these accounts, okay, in your mind you would think, oh, this was a 2 weeks, this happened in 2 weeks. Nah, he was on the run from Saul for years, man, over a decade. Okay, when you go into it, you see, damn near a decade or more, he was on the run from Saul. So he went through suffering, man. Well, he was pretty much homeless. Okay, so here it is. He's in his kingdom, the king. Okay, one of the richest men in the earth. You gotta think of this. King David was one of the richest men in the earth. We talk about the riches of Solomon, which Solomon had more. Okay, but he got his start from King David, his father. Okay, so this is one of the richest men in the earth, leaving his throne, going back in the wilderness. Why? Because he built like that. His suffering had him built like that. You see, it says, and the king went forth and all his household after him, and the king left 10 women which were concubines to keep the house. And the king went forth and all the people after him, and tarried in a place that was far off, and all his servants passed on beside him, and all the Cherethites and all the Pelethites and all the Gittites, 600 men which came after him from Gath, passed on before the king. Now let's go to when David got started. Matter of fact, let's get that. Okay, when David was on the run from Saul, because there was 600 men, that was with him. Okay, but now when you go here, I think that's 1 Kings, is it 20? Might be 22. Yep, this is 1 Samuel 22 and 1. It said, David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. Okay, so David is on the run in the wilderness. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him, and he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. So when King David was on the run from Saul, it was 400 men had gathered to David and made him a captain over them. Okay. When he was on the run from Saul, so David had been here before. You see? Before he even touched the throne, he had been in this position before, man. He had, he been had to go and be in the wilderness and live off the land and make moves, and, You see? So when you get here, the 2 Samuel, when, his son Absalom plans the coup, what did David do? 600 men, and all those men that was with him, those 400 men, they was there. They was there. So King David, all those men that suffered with him, they was built like him, man. Okay? So it was like, look, shit, that's bounce. You know how we do. We ain't nothing to talk about, You see? And it says, and after the king went forth and all the people after him, and tarried in a place that was far off, and all his servants passed on beside him, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, 600 men, which came after him from Gath, passed on before the king. Then said the king, all right, to Atia the Gittite, wherefore goest thou also with us? Return to thy place and abide with the king, for thou art a stranger, all right, which means he was an Israelite foreigner, all right, and also in exile. And it says, whereas thou camest but yesterday, should I this day make thee go up and down with us, seeing I go whither I may? Return thou and take back thy brethren. Mercy and truth be to thee. So you had a guy trying to follow David who had just got there yesterday. He was trying to follow King David into the wilderness, and King David like, look, you turn around, you just got here, man. I can't ask you to, move with me like this. I'm finna be out here. King David told him, he said, should I this day make thee go up and down with us? Okay, well, they was gonna be all over the place, man. Ain't no for sure place of lodging. Ain't no, they were just finna be out there. They went from eating, from the king's table to now they out there in the wilderness, man. Okay, it says, seeing I go whither I may. Okay, which saying he gonna be, it's finna get rough out here, man. It finna, hey, it ain't light out here, And it says, verse 21 says, in Itia, all right, and when you go into that name, it's Athia, Athia in the Hebrew, which means with me, and we're gonna see why he's named that. It says Itiah answered the king and said, as the Lord liveth, and as my lord the king liveth, surely in what place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also will thy servant be. Okay? Yeah, he was locked in. He's like, look, wherever my king is, that's where I'm at. He was locked in. He didn't care about the suffering. Like, you ain't talking about nothing. Where you be, that's where I'm going to be. You see? And that's how, even with Yahweh Shai, when he asked the disciples, when a lot of people start following, he said, you going to stop following as well? What they say, where we going to go? Okay, you got the word to eternal life. You the anointed, you the son. Okay? They was loyal to the king. Okay, and we gotta be loyal to the king in these times, man. No matter the suffering, no matter the circumstances, man. We're gonna have to be loyal to the king, man. Yahweh Shai. Okay? Now you go here to let's see this in the book of Maccabees. So let's get that in the book of 2nd Maccabees chapter 5. Now, let's start here at 21 and read into it. So pretty much with this account, you have Antiochus, all right, Epiphanes, that wicked nigga. All right, he's pretty much terrorizing, Jake. I think he killed close to 80,000, Jakes. Okay? And you had, wicked Israelites helping. Okay, so we're gonna read the account, and we're gonna start at 21. 2nd Maccabees 5 and 21. So when Antiochus Epiphanes had carried out the temple 1,800 talents, he departed in all haste unto Antiochia, weening in his pride to make the land navigable and the sea passable by foot. Such was the haughtiness of his mind. So he pretty much like, I'm gonna lay this whole city down where we can, I'm gonna lay Jerusalem flat and make roads over it. Okay, that's the haughtiness of his mind, because he had spoiled the temple and killed a lot of Jakes. It says, and he left governors to vex the nation at Jerusalem, Philip, all right, for his country of Phrygian, and for manners more barbarous than he that set him there. Me and it says, and the Gerizim, all right, and that Gerizim and Andronicus, and besides Menelaus, all right, Menelaus was a Benjamite who had got into, who pretty much had swindled the high priest office, which that show you how far off Jake was under the Greek. You had a Benjamite, a wicked nigga, a high priest, man. Okay, Jake was tripping, who was worse than all the rest, bear and heavy hand over the citizens, making a malicious mind against his countrymen, the Jews. All right, and that's another point. Niggas gonna be the worst, man. Like niggas finna flip and be the worst. You know, niggas are gonna be the absolute worst in these times, man. You know, they really gonna be all about, you know, removing the prophets and, you know, the persecution. Niggas are gonna be on the front line, man. Okay? It says, he sent also the detestable ringleader Apollonius with an army of 22,000, commanding him to slay all those that were in their best age, and to sell the women and the younger sort, who coming to Jerusalem and pretending peace, did forbear to the holy day of the Sabbath, when taking the Jews keeping holy day, he commanded his men to arm themselves. And so he slew all them that were gone to the celebrating of the Sabbath, and running through the city with weapons, slew great multitudes. So they caught Jake reverencing the Sabbath, you know, and waged war with him on that day. And Jake, you know, what's this nigga name? Menelaus, all right, the wicked Benjamite, he put them on their game, man, them Greeks on their game to do that. Okay? So, reading on, it said, but Judas Maccabeus with 9 others, all right, or thereabout, withdrew himself into the wilderness and lived in the mountains after the manner of beasts with his company, who fed on herbs continually, lest they should be partakers of the pollution. Okay, so what did they do? They had to leave, you know, so they went to the mountains to live like beasts, man. They went through that suffering. But guess what? When Judas Maccabeus came out that mountain, okay, he was hell to deal with through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Okay, when he came out the mountains, he was a problem. All right, for them Greeks. Okay, which they led into what you call the Hasmonean dynasty, where Jake had a little, you know, sub-autonomous kingdom, you know, partially sovereign, you know. But they came, hey, it was a suffering that sparked that, man. Okay? So let's go here. Let's go to the book of Romans. The book of Acts, chapter 9. All right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 9, verse 10. And it says, and there was a certain disciple in Damascus named Ananias, and to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias, and he said, behold, I am here, Lord. Okay? And it says, and the Lord said unto him, arise and go into the street, which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus, for behold, he prayeth. And he have seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he have done to the saints at Jerusalem. Because Saul used to persecute, you know, the believers. Okay? The believers on Yahushua. You see? He persecuted. So Ananias like, shit, you sure? And this guy, you see? Well, the Lord is telling him, look, I already got it set up. You know, he's going to explain. It says, and here he have authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name. Because when Paul was knocked off the horse going to Damascus, he was going, you know, with letters to get authority to imprison, you know, believers, you know, and even have, you know, believers slain, you know, murdered. Okay? And it says, but the Lord said unto him, go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me. Wait a minute. He's a chosen vessel. All right, but let's keep reading. to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. I will show him what great things he must suffer for my name's sake. So Paul, the Apostle Paul, was, Yahushua said he's chosen. But I'm finna show him what things he finna have to suffer for my name's sake. Okay? And that suffering led to what? Greatness, man. You got most of the New Testament written by the Apostle Paul through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. But he went through a lot of suffering, man. Okay, you read these books and these epistles and the works that Apostle Paul was doing, setting the church in order. Hey, he did. Apostle Paul was moving, and how you know it was through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Apostle Paul was moving like 10, 20 men all over the place, getting it done, making it happen in the Spirit. You know, putting in works, man. It took time to put those epistles together, going through, you know, because he's going through Old Testament. Okay, they had scrolls back then, man. There was some labor putting those things together, man. Okay, so we'll end it here. This is the book of Acts chapter 14, verse 22, and this is what it boils down to, man. You know, and you really gotta gear our minds toward these things. At the end of the day, the Lord gonna give us a spirit to endure these things, man. You know, but we're being conditioned now. You see, Acts 14 and 22. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of the Most High. Okay? You see? Confirming. When we read verse 22 in the NLT, Acts 14 and 22 says, where they strengthened the believers, they encouraged them to continue so like in the faith, reminding them that we must suffer many hardships to enter into the kingdom of the Most High, man. Okay? So it's going to be a time of hardships, man, a time of suffering to enter into the kingdom of the Most High. Okay? To get that glory, man, to get them thrones, man, it's some suffering, man. But it's going to be beyond worth it. You know? And the Lord is constantly putting us through things now, man. You know, and rewarding us on the back end to show this how I'm going to do. Except on a much larger scale, you know. So as men, you know, you got to prepare to suffer, man. Leaders of houses, hey, we got to prepare to suffer, man. You know. You got to, hey, whatever situation is what it is, man. Okay. One thing about it, America has, you know, pampered us and, you know, have us so soft, man, to the point where, hey, you got to, you know, just, hey, change things up, man, whatever that might be, you know, for each brother, man. But hey, hey, we gotta get ready to endure hardness, man. You know, so Lord will you, brothers. All right, we'll edify till next time. I say Shalom. Call me Ashala Baba Baba DTA soon. Shalom.